Chapter 7 of The Plum and the Golden Lotus, Chongzhen edition of Embroidered Portraits. Matchmaker Zhu said she would marry Meng Sanner, but Miss Young scolded forth Uncle Zhang angrily. The poem says, I am very capable as a matchmaker, and it all depends on my diligence. The sword of words is used to win over widowers, and the sword of tongue can temper a woman's heart. The lucky flower is often worn on the head, and the wedding cake is held in the sleeves. There is only one bad thing about him, half an adult and half a loser. It is said that in Simon King's family, Zhu's sister-in-law, who was selling green flowers, was carrying a flower box and couldn't find Simon King in the field. Seeing Simon King's personal envoy Diana, he asked, "Where are the officials?" Diane said, "My father is settling accounts with second Uncle Fu in the shop." It turns out that Simon King's family opened a medicine shop, and the manager's surname was Fu Mingming, whose courtesy name was Sixen, rank second, so he was called Second Uncle Fu. After hearing this, Mrs. Su walked to the front of the shop, opened the curtain, and saw Simon King settling accounts with the supervisor, so she nodded and called him out. Seeing that it was Mrs. Su, Simon King quickly left the supervisor and came out, and the two of them walked in a quiet place to talk. Simon King asked, "What do you have to say?" Sister-in-law Zhu said, "I have a marriage, so I came to tell the high officials that if I take care of your old man's wishes, I will go against Sanyang's nest. How about it?" Simon said. King said, "Which family does this marriage belong to?" Sister-in-law Zhu said, "This lady, as you know, she is the head lady of the young family who sells cloth outside the south gate. She has a lot of money in her hand. There are also Dababu beds in Nanjing. Clothes from all seasons can't be inserted into the hands. And there are also 4 or 5 boxes. Needless to say, gold bracelets and silver coins. There are thousands of taels of silver in hand. There are also 300 to 200 tubes of good 3 shuttlecloths." Unexpectedly, he was a man who went to sell cloth and died outside. He had been a widow for more than a year and had no children around him. He only had a brother-in-law who was only 10 years old. He was young. Why should he be guarded? He had a biological daughter in his family, so he had to stand up for it. He is getting married. This lady is no more than 25 or 6 years old this year. She has a long figure and looks like a character. She looks like a lamplighter when she dresses up. She is charming and handsome, with a lot of intelligence. She is the leader of the family, has a good command of female workers, and has both hands. Needless to say, Luke is he. To be honest with the senior officials, his maiden name is Meng, and he is the third sister, who lives in Shushui Lane. He also knows how to play the yukon well. If the senior officials see him, he will kill him with a single arrow. Simon King heard that the woman could play the yukon, and she fell in love with him. So he asked Aunt Su, "Since we are like this, when will we meet?" Aunt Su said, "It doesn't matter if we meet. I'll stay with you," the old man suggested. Now he has a family, but the girl is the eldest. Although he is his Uncle Zhang Si Hickory, he is a mile away. This mother-in-law was originally married to Sun Yaotu, who lived in Gongzhu's house, on Bambian Street to the north. Wei Tu, the head, is dead, and this woman has been a widow for 30 or 40 years. She has no men or women, and she only relies on her nieces and nephews to support her. The high-ranking officials only fell on him and begged him. This woman loves money, knowing full well that her nephew, if the daughter-in-law has something, she doesn't care who she asks. She only expects a few taels of silver. The high-ranking official's family has a lot of jokes. Take a piece of it. Buy a load of gifts. Go see him in person tomorrow, and give him a few taels of silver. Knock him down with one punch. Just ask someone next to you to speak. And this mother-in-law is claiming the throne. Who dares to do anything? What Mrs. Su said made Simon King Huan smile from the corner of his forehead and the tip of his eyebrows. Exactly, the matchmaker always said that Mengji loved to marry a rich man. If we are destined to meet each other thousands of miles away, if we are not destined to meet each other, we will not meet each other. Simon King made an appointment with Mrs. Su that day. Tomorrow was a good date, so he bought gifts and went to his girl's house. After Mrs. Su finished speaking, she went away carrying the flower box. Simon King came in to settle accounts with Fu Gai. One night is not a problem. The next day, Simon King got up early, dressed neatly, took a ruler, bought 4 plates of soup and fruit, pretended to be a box of burdens, and asked people to carry them. Sister-in-law Zhu led. Simon King rode on Tuku, followed by the boy, and came to the head of Miss Yang's house. Mrs. Zhu went in first to inform the girl and said, "There is a rich man nearby who wants to marry the eldest lady. I said that my aunt is the eldest in the family. I will come to meet you first and talk to you in person before I dare to go to the door. The foreign minister is looking at it. Today, my daughter-in-law brought me here and she was waiting at the door." When the mother-in-law heard this, she said, "Ah, Baoshan, why didn't you say something first?" While ordering the maid to drink some good tea, she said, "Yes, please." Sister-in-law Zhu encouraged her. She first carried the box load in and set it down, then sent the empty box load out, then invited Simon King to come in and meet him. This Simon King wore a big hat with a hemlock and kept saying, "Girl, please accept the gift." After giving in for a long time, the mother-in-law accepted half of the gift. The guests and hosts sat down, with Mrs. Zhu standing next to them. The mother-in-law asked, "What's your surname?" Sister-in-law Zhu said, "He is one of the richest men in King County, Simon Dogwin. He opened a big medicine store in front of the county. The family's money is more than Beidou. The rice is rotten. And there is no boss." The wife of Liji, "I heard that the eldest lady outside our house is getting married. So I came here to see my aunt to talk about the marriage." The old woman said, "The official is so polite to talk about my nephew's daughter-in-law. I just came here to talk about it casually. Why bother? I also bought a gift, which made me feel disrespectful and unworthy of it." Simon King said, "Girl, I am afraid that I don't have any gifts." The woman bowed twice and thanked her, received the gifts, and brought tea up. After eating, the mother-in-law said, "I must say that I am a coward. When my nephew was here, he made a penny. Unfortunately, he died first. Now it is all in his hands. At least he has thousands of taels of silver. Something, I don't care whether you are an official or a big official, as long as you recite good prayers with my nephew. I am his own daughter, and we are not separated from each other. So I have a coffin book with me, and I have never asked for your families. With my old face, I acted like a stinky rat with that old dog Zhangxi, and argued hard for you. When we got married during the birthday season, the officials let him come and go, so he recognized me as a poor relative. It's just that you are poor." Simon King smiled and said, "Don't worry, old man. I know everything you said. As long as you are determined, let alone a coffin book, even 10 coffins, even a small man can afford it." After saying that, he asked the boy to take the worship box, took out 6 ingots and 30 taels of snowflake official silver, put it in front of him, and said, "This is nothing. I will buy a cup of tea with you first. And when we get married tomorrow, I will give you 70 taels of silver and 2 bolts of satin as a final gift for your old man. During the 4 seasons and 8 seasons, just come and walk." The old pious woman's dark eyes saw the 20 or 30 taels of white official silver, and her face was full of them. He smiled and said, "The official is superior. It's not that I am young and careless. Since ancient times, I have to break things off first and then not mess up." And Zhu interjected from the side and said, "You are so worried. You are so careless. I, a high-ranking official, are not like this. People, they just have to carry a box to recognize their relatives. You old man doesn't know, but now the magistrates and ministers are all coming and going, so it's all over the world. How much can your old man eat?" The old woman was pissed off after saying this. After 2 courses of tea, Simon King wanted to get up, but his mother-in-law couldn't hold him back. Sister-in-law Zhu said, "Since I have met my aunt today, I can go and see you outside the door tomorrow." The mother-in-law said, "My nephew and daughter-in-law don't need to be a high-ranking official. Baoshan, just tell me, if you don't marry into such a family, what's the point of marrying again?" "Such a family," Simon King said and stood up. The mother-in-law said, "I didn't know that the official was going down. I was in a hurry and didn't prepare. Don't blame me for leaving the official." She was sent out on crutches. After 2 steps, Simon King Grang went back. Sister-in-law Zhu sent Simon King to mount his horse because he said, "Are my opinions justified? You, old man, go back first. I'll still have a word with him here. You must go out the door early tomorrow." Simon King took out 1 or 2 taels. "When the money comes, make donkey money with Mrs. Zhu." Sister-in-law Zhu took it, and Simon King went to Ma Lai's house. He was still talking and drinking at Miss Yang's house, and did not return home until sunset. Stop talking nonsense. On the next day, Simon Qingda came out of the south gate, neatly dressed and with sleeves tied on, riding a white horse, followed by 2 young men, Dian and Ping'an, and Zhu's sister-in-law riding a donkey. Not long after, they arrived at the head of the young family, but it sits in a gatehouse facing south and north, with a pink and green screen wall. Mrs. Zhu asked Simon King to get off his horse and go in with him. Inside, there is a ceremonial gate, a screen wall, a bamboo screen wall, a pomegranate bonsai in the courtyard, an indigo vat on the platform, and 2 cloth benches. Sister-in-law Zhu pushed open the vermilion fan, and there were 3 guest seats in the room. The upper and lower chairs and tables were bright, and the curtains were elegant. Mrs. Zhu asked Simon King to sit down and walked inside. After a while, he came out and said in Simon King's ear, "Madam, you haven't finished dressing up yet. Please sit down for a moment." A young boy took out a cup of urine to make tea, and Simon King ate it. Mrs. Zhu was gesticulating and said to Simon King, "Apart from that girl, this lady is the eldest in the family. Although his brother-in-law is still young, he doesn't know anything about it. There was a deceased official in this shop. The day is not counted as silver, and copper coins are sold for 2 large baskets. Every time I ask him to buy Ma King shoe cloth, it must be 3/3 and 1 foot. There are 20 or 30 dyed meals in a day, and it is this lady who advises to organize them. There are 2 girls and a boy. The eldest girl is 15 years old and has gone away with her head hanging. Her name is Langshang. The little girl's name is Xiaoluan and she is only 12 years old. When we pass tomorrow, we will all come with him. I will do it for you." The old man said that this marriage is going to happen, and he hopes to have 2 rooms to live in. Simon King said, "It doesn't matter." Sister-in-law Zhu said, "You old man bought spring plums last year and promised me a few big pieces of cloth, but you haven't given it to me yet. Here we are. I don't care about tomorrow. Thank you." Just as he was talking, a girl was sent to call Mrs. Zhu. After a while, I heard the jingling of ring pendants and the fragrance of orchids and musk deer. Sister-in-law Zhu hurriedly opened the curtain and the woman came out. Simon King opened his eyes and looked at the woman, but saw the moon is painted with smoke, and the makeup is pink and jade is carved. He is neither fat nor thin, and his handsome figure is hard to lose and hard to gain. The forehead is slightly numb, which is natural and beautiful. The skirt reveals a pair of small feet, which makes Chongzhen pitiful. The fragrance of flowers grows everywhere you walk, and when you sit down, it is filled with beauty. Simon King was filled with joy upon seeing him. The woman walked down the hall, looked at Bu Buzheng and said a blessing, then sat down on the chair opposite. Simon King looked at her for a moment, and the woman lowered her head. Simon King said, "My wife has been dead for a long time. I want to marry you to take care of the house. I don't know what your wishes are." The woman secretly glanced at Simon King and saw that he was a charming person. She was very pleased with him, so she turned around and asked Zhu Po said, "The official is noble? How long have you been without my wife?" Simon King said, "The villain has wasted his 28 years. Unfortunately, his wife has been dead for more than a year. I dare not ask. How young is my wife?" The woman said, "Slave family, he is 30 years old." Simon King said, "It turns out that I am 2 years older." Sister-in-law Zhu interjected from the side, "My wife is 2 years older, and her golden days are getting longer. My wife is 3 years older, and my gold is accumulated like a mountain." As he said this, he saw the little boy. The maid took out 3 candied golden oranges and made tea. The woman got up, took the first one first, wiped off the water stains on the edge with her delicate hands, handed it to Simon King, and wished him well. Seeing the woman standing up, Sister-in-law Zhu took the opportunity to gently lift up the woman's skirt with her hands, revealing a pair of 3-inch long, half-forked, pointed golden lotus feet. She was wearing a pair of red and white silk with golden clouds all over the ground. High and low shoes. Simon King saw it and was filled with joy. The woman took a second cup of tea and handed it to Mrs. Zhu. He helped himself to a cup and sat with him. After having tea, Simon King asked Diane to present a brocade handkerchiefs, a pair of treasure hairpins, and 6 gold rings in a square box, and put them on a tray and sent them over. Sister-in-law Zhu asked the woman to thank her. He asked the official about the date of the ceremony. I can make preparations here. Simon King said, since I have received your permission from the lady, on the 24th of this month, some small gifts will come through the door. The wedding is scheduled on the 2nd day of the 6th lunar month, the woman said. Since in this way, I will send someone to tell the girl tomorrow. Sister-in-law Zhu said, the official went to my aunt's house yesterday to speak. The woman said, what did the girl say? Sister-in-law Zhu said, my aunt heard that I really don't like what the officials said about this marriage. He said, if you don't marry this kind of family, you will marry that kind of family. I will be the hard matchmaker to protect this marriage, the woman said. Since it's a girl who says it like this, it's good. The sister-in-law said, what a great lady. Why would I, as a matchmaker, dare to lie like this? After saying this, Simon King made a speech and stood up. Illustrations from the Chongzhen edition of Plum and the Golden Ping. Sister-in-law Zhu walked out of the alley and said to Simon King, how do you feel after seeing this lady? Simon King said, Sister-in-law Zhu, I'm actually tired of you. Sister-in-law Zhu said, you, old man, go first. I, the eldest lady, will come as soon as you say a word. Simon King rode into the city. Sister-in-law Zhu turned to the woman and said, Madam, you can marry this official. The woman said, but I wonder if there is anyone in the room. Why do you think so? Sister-in-law Zhu said. Good grandma, just there is a person in the house, who is a wise man. I said it was a lie. You can see it when you go there. Who doesn't know his name? He is one of the richest men in King County. He is famous for selling crude medicines to pay off the debts of officials. Simon King, a high official, the county magistrate, they all have contacts with him. Recently, I got married to Admiral Young of Tokyo. They are all from the same family. Who dares to offend him? The woman arranged a banquet and meal, and while she was eating with sister-in-law Zhu, she saw a young boy from his girl's family. The boy, who had 4 pieces of yellow rice flour jujube cakes, 2 pieces of candy, and dozens of mugworts in the box, came to ask, have you ever been penetrated by that family? Grandma said, this family doesn't want to marry, but it's very difficult to get married. The woman said, thank you for your concern, Grandma. I have decided to stay here now. Sister-in-law Zhu said, oh my God. My God. If my matchmaker had not lied, my aunt would have said that she would come. The woman accepted the cake, took out the box, filled it with a box full of snacks and bacon, gave in Tong 50 or 60 cents, and said, please pay homage to Grandma when you get home. That family's wedding ceremony is scheduled for the 24th, and the wedding is allowed on the 2nd day of the lunar month. The boy went away. Sister-in-law Zhu said, what did my aunt's family bring? Give me some and pack them for the children to eat. The woman gave him a piece of candy and 10 pieces of moxa, and then went out without saying a word. Let's say that his maternal uncle Zhangxi relied on his young nephew Yangzong Bao to keep his wife's belongings, and devoted himself to ensuring that the son of a high-ranking official in the main street, Shang Zhiren, would become his successor. Ruo Zhaoqi still had something to say. He didn't want to hear that Simon King was determined. Knowing that he was the one who controlled the government, he couldn't do anything. It is better to break the plan than to use all possible means. He came up and said to the woman, my wife should not marry Simon King, but I should marry someone like Shang Ju. He comes from a Shili family and has a farmland, so he can live a good life. It is better than marrying Simon King. That guy has been in control of the government for many years and is a mischievous person. He has a good wife in his family, who is the daughter of Wu Qianhu's family. Are you going to do big things or small things? Besides, he has 3 or 4 wives in his room. The girl above doesn't count. When you go to his house, there will be many people and mouths. And it will make you angry. The woman heard what Zhang Si was saying and knew clearly that Zhang Si meant to break up the engagement. So she pretended to say, since ancient times, there are many boats that don't block the road. If there is an eldest wife in his family, I would rather let him be his sister. Even if there are many people in the house, as long as the husband is the master. If the husband likes it, it doesn't matter if there are more. If the husband doesn't like it, it will be difficult for him to live with only one slave. Besides, rich people, that family doesn't have 4 or 5. You don't have to worry too much, old man. It's reasonable for the slave to go there, and it won't be a problem. Zhang Si said. It's not just this one. He is most accustomed to beating wives and killing their wives. And he is also a provocateur and trafficker. If he doesn't like it, he ordered the matchmaker to sell him. Can you bear his anger? The woman said, Fourth uncle, you are a bad old man. Although a man is powerful, he will not hit his diligent and trouble-free wife. I will go to his house and decide the house. How dare he be a slave if he can't say anything and can't speak from outside? Zhang Si said, I didn't ask, but he has a 14-year-old unmarried daughter in his family. I'm afraid that if he goes to his house, he will cause trouble. What's the matter? The woman said, What did your fourth uncle say? When you come to his house, you can treat the children well, whether they are older or younger. You are not afraid of the men being unhappy or the daughters being infilial. Don't say anything. That's all, 10 of them won't matter. Zhang Si said, There is one more important thing. This person has stopped doing bad things and is sleeping outside in flowers and willows. He is fictitious on the outside and has few debts. I'm afraid he will trap you. The woman said, Fourth uncle? You are too old. It is normal for him to do some romantic activities outside when he is young. How can a slave woman take care of a lot? It is true and false. As the saying goes, in this world, money is the only thing that can bring good things. Are you going to be poor and rich for a long time? After all, marriage is predetermined. You don't need to worry about it. Zhang Si saw that the woman couldn't talk to him, so when he came to eat, he said a few words. So colorless, after eating 2 cups of tea, he said, got up and went. There is poetry depraved. Zhang Si broke up with Chu Yan for no reason. Who would have thought that marriage would be the first one? The beautiful woman loves Simon King, and she is always busy talking about it. Zhang Si returned home in shame and disgust with his mother-in-law. He waited for the woman to get up and pointed at his nephew Yang Zongbao to seize the woman's box and cage. Stop talking nonsense. On the 24th, Simon King saluted. On the 26th, 12 plain monks were invited to chant sutras and burn souls, and it was his girl who took the initiative. On the first day when the woman was about to get up, Zhang Si invited several neighbors to come and talk to the woman. At this time, Sister-in-law Zhu was leading the young men of Simon King's family to accompany her, as well as the 10 or 20 military prisoners who were guarding the house. They were coming in to carry the woman's bed tent and dowry box and cage. He was stopped by Zhang Si and said, Don't carry Baoshan, I have something to say. At the same time, he and his neighbors came in to see the woman. After sitting down, Zhang Si spoke first and said, Listen, ladies and gentlemen, madam is here. It's not my place, Zhang Long, to say that your man, Yang Zongxi, and your brother-in-law, Yang Zongbao, are both my nephews. Unfortunately, my eldest nephew died today. Earn money for nothing. Someone is advocating for you, so that's it. Zheng Nei's second nephew, Yang Zongbao, is young, and all his karma is on me. He was born from the same mother as you, a man, so he doesn't have a share in the property. Son, today, in front of all the distinguished neighbors here, I just open your box and take a look with everyone, whether there is something or not, so that everyone can see clearly. After hearing this, the woman burst into tears and said, Everyone listen, you are a bad old man. Didn't you maliciously murder a man, and today you are embarrassed to get married again? It is known to everyone that he has money or not. Even if he saved a few taels of silver, he spent it in this house. Go up. I didn't take the house with me, I left it all with my uncle. The household chores and other items have not been touched at all. There are 300 to 400 taels of silver in debt outside. And the documents and contracts have been handed over to you, and you are asking for money at home one after another. What's more, what kind of silver do you want? Zhang Sita said. It doesn't matter if you don't have any silver. Now I just open the box for everyone and take a look. There is it. You took it. And I don't want yours, the woman said. Mobunu Shufi, do you want to see it? In the midst of the chaos, I saw the girl walking out from behind on crutches. Everyone said, "Girl, come out." They all sang in unison. The girl returned the blessing and sat down with everyone. The girl said, "My dear neighbors, I am his daughter, and we are not separated from each other. So why don't you say virginity to me? The dead one is also a nephew, and the living one is also a nephew. It hurts to bite all 10 fingers. Now don't say that he is a man and has no money. He has 100,000 taels of silver. You can only take a look at him. He has no one around him. He is a young woman. Why are you stopping him from teaching him how to get married?" Everyone, the street neighbors shouted loudly, "Girl, you are right." The mother-in-law said, "Isn't it possible that the things his mother's family kept with her are also his? He has never told me anything behind his back. He said that I protect him, so he must be fair. No, I don't want to tell you, but my nephew's wife is always kind and righteous, but I can't bear to let him go. She's so gentle, otherwise, I wouldn't care about him." Zhang Si glanced at the mother-in-law and said, "You are so fair, my heart. A phoenix without treasures will never fall anywhere." With these words, the mother-in-law was really ill. She immediately became angry. Her face flushed, and she designated Zhang Si and cursed, "Zhang Si, stop talking nonsense. Although you can't be the head of the Young family, you old glib, but you are the son of the coward of the Young family?" Zhang Si said, "Although I have a different surname, my 2 nephews were raised by my sister. You are an old bitch and an outgoing girl. Why are you so cute? Set fire and then water." The girl said, "You are a shameless old dog. He belongs to a young girl and a young woman. What's your plan for leaving him in the house? It's not just for sex, but for scheming to enrich yourself with money." Zhang Si said, "I'm not looking for money. I'm just afraid that Yang Zongbao will grow up later and will not be able to live. It's not like you, an old killer, who leads the big one to the small one, a yellow cat with a black tail." The girl said, "Zhang Si, you are an old coward, an old slave, an old slut. You lie and talk nonsense. And when you die tomorrow, you will not be carrying a rope." Zhang Si said, "You talkative old slut. Earn enough money to burn the tail target. No wonder you have no children." The girl became anxious and scolded, "Zhang Si, you are a thief of old Kangdon, an old pig and dog. I have no children. I am better than your mother and daughter who live in the temple and raise children. Monk, Taoist priest, you are still sleeping." The two almost came to blows, but thanks to the neighbors who stopped them, they said, "Uncle, just leave the girl alone." Sister-in-law Zhu shouted when she saw the two of them. They formed a group, led the young men from Ximon King's family to accompany them, and sent all the soldiers to the prison to drive the people to make trouble. They carried the woman's bed tent, dowry, and boxes and cages with all their hands and feet, and carried them all away in a gust of wind. The angry eyes were wide open, and he was speechless for a long time. Seeing that it was nothing, the neighbors appeased him for a while and then dispersed. Illustrations from the Chongzhen edition of Plum and the Golden Ping. On the 2nd day of June, Simon held a large sedan chair for pairs of red gauze lanterns, and his brother-in-law Yang Zongbao, with a bun on his head and a green gauze dress, riding on a horse to see his sister-in-law get married. Ximon King rewarded him with a piece of brocade and a jade ribbon. 2 girls, Lan Xiang and Xiao Luan, followed to make the bed and fold the quilt. The young boy Qin Tong, who was only 15 years old, was also brought over to serve him. On the 3rd day, Ms. Yang's family and her 2 sisters-in-law, Meng Dasao and Er Sao, came to celebrate the birthday. Ximon King and his wife Yang received 70 taels of silver and 2 pieces of ruler. Since then, There have been constant exchanges between relatives. Simon King tidied up 3 rooms in the West Wing and made room with him. Ranked 3rd, she was named Yulu, so everyone in the family called her Sanyi. Arrested in his room for 3 nights in a row. Exactly. There are still 2 new people in the gold-selling account. 2 old things appear in the red brocade quilt. There is poetry depraved. How can you see the sentimental sign? It will teach people not to be blessed and it is difficult to eliminate it. Wherever the wind blows lazy, Chongzhen is in the willow branches every night.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.